All right, so you sent me this whole stack of readings about signs and messages from the universe.
Yeah.
And I gotta admit, I'm both intrigued and skeptical.
Uh,
Like, on one hand, I love the idea of this cosmic language.
right.
But on the other hand, it's like, how much of this is us just projecting meaning where there is none?
Yeah, I get it.
It's easy to get caught up in that, right?
Totally.
So for this deep dive, I'm really hoping we can sort of unpack that,
Okay.
explore how to, potentially tune into these subtle messages,
Hmm.
but also stay grounded and avoid those confirmation bias pitfalls.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So let's dig into these sources and see
Mhm.
what they have to say about recognizing those whispers from the universe.
Well, one of the things that struck me right away was this emphasis on ritual cleansing.
Ritual cleansing.
Yeah, like using specific baths to kind of
Hmm.
clear your mind and create space for those messages to come through.
So it's more than just saying water represents purification. It's like taking that concept and turning it into an actionable step.
Exactly.
So are we talking about like taking a bath with specific intentions in mind?
Yeah, exactly. And, the source actually gives a specific bath ritual.
Oh, really?
Yeah, using Himalayan salt and essential oils, all aimed at kind of releasing negative energy and creating a more receptive state for intuitive insights.
Okay, I'm intrigued, but isn't it possible that, we're
Hmm.
just looking for patterns that confirm what we already believe?
Yeah, that's a really important point.
Right.
And the source does acknowledge that potential for confirmation bias.
Okay, good.
It suggests that we need to be a bit more discerning, not just accepting everything as a sign.
Right.
One way to do this is to pay attention to patterns that feel, particularly potent or persistent,
Okay.
especially those that come up in unexpected ways.
So, like, give me an example.
Okay, so the source talks about recurring numbers.
Uh-huh.
It goes deeper than just noticing 11.11. It gives this specific example. Seeing the number 333 repeatedly
Okay.
could be a sign to, to trust your creative instincts and step into a leadership role, even if it feels daunting.
Interesting. Okay, so it's not just about seeing the pattern. It's about
Right.
how it resonates with our current situation, maybe our challenges, right?
Exactly. And that actually brings us to this next point
Okay.
that the source makes about those sudden disruptions.
Disruptions.
Yeah, the ones that,
Got
throw us
it.
off course.
Like a curveball.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Have you ever experienced like a major life change, maybe a job loss or something,
Yeah.
that felt devastating at the time,
Oh, absolutely.
but ultimately led you to something better?
For sure. I mean, I can think of a few times where what I thought was a major setback turned out to be a huge blessing in disguise.
That's what the source is getting at.
Okay.
These disruptions, they can be, the universe's way of redirecting us, nudging us onto a path that's more aligned with our soul's purpose, even if it doesn't feel that way initially.
I love that. It's like when your GPS reroutes you because of traffic and you end up discovering this cool new cafe you never knew existed.
I love that analogy.
You're right.
It's not always the most comfortable route, but it can lead to those unexpected discoveries.
Totally.
Now, this next point is where the source really gets into the deep dive aspect. Dreams.
Okay, so full disclosure, I've tried keeping a dream journal, but honestly, mine are mostly just a jumble of,
Right.
random images and emotions.
Yeah, that's how they often appear on the surface.
Right.
But the source makes this really fascinating point.
Okay.
Instead of getting lost in the literal details,
Uh-huh.
try to identify the underlying emotion
Okay.
or themes that run through your dreams.
Gotcha.
It's about decoding the symbolic language of the subconscious.
Okay.
So, for example, like constantly dreaming about being unprepared for a test
Okay.
could symbolize a deeper fear of not being good enough in real life.
Interesting. Okay, so it's not about finding like a one-to-one translation of dream symbols, but more about tapping into the emotional undercurrent.
Exactly. And that ties into this idea of intuition, which the source really emphasizes as a crucial skill for deciphering those messages.
Right, but intuition can be so fleeting,
Yeah.
Like, how do we actually hone that gut feeling into something more reliable?
That's the million-dollar question, right? Well, the source has some really interesting ideas about that.
Okay.
It suggests that one way to strengthen our intuition is to practice making small decisions based purely on gut feeling.
Like, what kind of decisions? I'm not about to make major life choices based on a hunch.
Oh, no need to go that extreme.
Yeah.
It uses this simple example,
Okay.
like choosing which route to take home from work,
Uh-huh.
instead of always opting for the familiar path.
Yeah.
Try taking the road less traveled, even if it doesn't make logical sense.
Okay, so like flexing that intuitive muscle in low-stakes situations.
Exactly.
Oh.
And here's where it gets really fascinating.
Okay.
The source suggests that as we start trusting those smaller intuitive nudges, we become more attuned to the bigger signs and synchronicities.
Oh, okay, so those cosmic winks we were talking about.
Yes, those moments where it feels like the universe is orchestrating events.
Right, like almost too perfect to be a coincidence.
Exactly. And the source actually offers a specific example that really caught my eye.
Okay.
It talks about encountering a particular animal repeatedly.
Okay.
Could be a sign from the universe.
Like what? Like a spirit animal?
Well, remember those hawks you mentioned, seeing everywhere?
Oh, yeah. For a while there, it felt like they were, like, following me around.
Well, according to the source, hawks are often associated with clear vision, leadership,
Okay.
and the ability to see the bigger picture.
Wow.
Given your interest in these cosmic messages, it could be a sign to trust your instincts and embrace that role as a guide for others.
Okay, that's actually giving me chills.
Right.
But what if those signs are just, random occurrences that we're just, like, imbuing with meaning because we're looking for them?
It's the age-old debate.
Right.
The source acknowledges that there's always that possibility,
Yeah.
projecting our desires onto the external world. However, it also suggests that true synchronicities often carry a very specific feeling,
Okay.
like a feeling of undeniable significance,
Yeah.
a sense that something bigger is at play.
Okay. I can definitely relate to that.
Yeah.
It's like when you think of someone and then they call you at that exact moment,
Exactly.
it's more than just coincidence. It's like this little jolt of, like, knowing.
Exactly. And here's where the source takes a bit of a controversial turn.
Okay.
It suggests that even the people who challenge us, the ones who push our buttons.
Hold on, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I thought we were talking about cosmic winks, not cosmic punches in the face.
I know, right?
How can those difficult people be seen as anything but obstacles?
It's a radical concept, I know. But the source argues that these individuals, they often mirror back to us the aspects of ourselves that we need to work on.
Oh.
Those shadow sides we tend to avoid.
Okay, I can see how that could be valuable, even if it's not exactly pleasant.
Right.
But how do we know if it's, like, a genuine lesson or just someone being a jerk?
That's where discernment comes in.
Okay.
The source suggests paying attention to recurring patterns in these challenging relationships.
Oh, okay.
If the same issues keep arising with different people,
Got it.
could be a sign that there's an internal lesson to be learned.
So instead of blaming the other person,
Yeah,
we should be asking, what is the situation trying to teach me about myself?
exactly.
Okay, that's a good point.
And that brings us to another thought-provoking point from the source. Obstacles.
Obstacles.
Yeah, we tend to view them as setbacks.
Right.
But what if they're actually opportunities in disguise?
Okay, I'm all for positive reframing. But sometimes a roadblock is just a roadblock.
That's true, but the source offers a different perspective.
Okay.
It suggests that obstacles, they often force us to reassess our goals, to get creative, to develop resilience.
So it's like those weightlifting exercises that make us stronger by, like, pushing us to our limits?
Precisely. Obstacles can be the resistance training
Okay.
we need for our spiritual muscles.
I like that. I'm starting to see those word blocks in a new light.
Good.
But what about the symbolism in nature? The source talks about everything from, like,
Right.
the changing seasons to the way a tree grows, like having a deeper meaning. Isn't that a bit of a stretch?
Not necessarily. Think about the cycle of the seasons.
Okay.
Spring represents new beginning.
Right.
Summer embodies growth and abundance.
Yeah.
Autumn's a time for harvest and reflection. And winter invites us to go inward and rest.
Okay.
These natural rhythms can be powerful metaphors for our own personal journeys.
Okay, I can see how that connects.
Right.
But what about individual symbols? Like,
Yeah.
the source talks about water representing purification and the sun symbolizing illumination.
Right.
How do we know which interpretation is, like, correct?
That's where intuition comes in again.
Okay.
The source emphasizes that there's no definitive dictionary
Right.
of symbols.
Yeah.
It's about how those symbols resonate with us personally.
So it's not about finding the right answer.
Right.
It's about the feeling or the insight the symbol evokes.
Exactly. It's a very personal decoding process.
This is making me think about art, too.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the source mentions that art can be this powerful conduit for universal truths. But how do we know which messages are meant for us?
It's about paying attention to the art that pulls you in, the art that speaks to your soul.
Uh-huh.
The source gives the example of a painting
Okay.
that depicts a lone figure standing at a crossroads.
Mm-hmm.
For one person, it might symbolize a fear of making the wrong choice.
Right.
While for another, it might represent the excitement of a new adventure.
So it's like a mirror reflecting back to us our own internal landscape.
Exactly.
Wow.
And speaking of reflections, let's revisit those recurring numbers that have been popping up for you.
Please.
The source mentions that each number holds a unique vibration and meaning.
Yes. I'm still curious about that whole 11.11 thing.
Well, the source dives into numerology
Okay.
and suggests that 11.11 is often associated with spiritual awakening, heightened intuition, and a sense of alignment with your soul's purpose.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense given everything else we've been talking about.
Right.
But what about other numbers? Do they all have specific meanings?
The source goes into that.
Okay.
It explains that seeing the number 222 repeatedly could be a sign to trust the process and have faith that things are unfolding as they should, even if you can't see the bigger picture yet.
So it's like a reassurance that we're on the right track, even when things feel uncertain.
Yes. And that brings us to another fascinating aspect of this cosmic communication: animal symbolism.
Okay, I'm ready to dive into the animal kingdom.
Great.
What other creatures might be trying to get our attention? Well, the source also specifically mentions butterflies.
Oh, butterflies.
Now, I've always loved butterflies.
Yeah.
But I never really thought of them as having, like, a deeper meaning.
Well, they're a classic symbol of transformation, right?
Yeah.
Think about their life cycle, They start as a caterpillar, then they go into this cocoon where they undergo this complete metamorphosis, and then finally emerge as this, beautiful winged creature.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
That makes me wonder if seeing a butterfly during a difficult time could be, like, a sign to trust that process of change.
Absolutely. The source suggests that, pay attention to the animals that appear in our lives, even in, like, seemingly mundane ways, can offer these profound insights into our current challenges and opportunities.
So each animal kind of carries its own unique energy and message that we can learn from.
Exactly.
This is making me rethink, like, every animal encounter I've ever had.
Yeah.
But what about those messages that might be coming from within, like from our own bodies?
Interesting.
The source mentioned that physical sensations could also be signs from the universe.
Yeah, the source makes this fascinating connection between physical ailments and unresolved emotional issues. For example, it suggests that persistent back pain could be a sign of carrying too much responsibility, or feeling unsupported.
Interesting.
It's not about, dismissing the physical issue,
Right.
but exploring whether there's an emotional component that needs to be addressed as well.
So it's like our bodies are trying to communicate with us using these, like, physical symptoms as a way to kind of get our attention. It's making me wonder if that recurring headache I've been dealing with might be more than just stress.
It's certainly worth exploring.
Okay.
The source really emphasizes that the body is a powerful messenger.
Yeah.
And learning to listen to those whispers can be a key part of decoding these messages.
Yeah. And speaking of whispers, we can't forget about the subtle influences of those cosmic cycles.
Oh, right.
We touched on this earlier. But the source, like, really dives deep into how understanding those cycles can help us,
align with those natural rhythms.
Align with the universe's natural rhythms, yeah.
Exactly.
We talked about lunar cycles and how setting intentions during the new moon can be such a powerful practice.
Yes.
But the source also mentions something called a Saturn return, which,
I
gotta be honest, I found that a little intimidating.
Saturn returns. They're a big deal.
Okay.
It's this significant astrological transit that happens roughly every 29 and a half years, when Saturn returns to the same position it held in the sky at the time of your birth.
Wow.
The source explains that this period is often marked by, challenges, introspection, as Saturn kind of pushes us to confront our limitations, and build a more solid foundation for the future.
So it's not necessarily a negative experience, but more like a cosmic reality check.
Exactly.
A time to really reassess our priorities and make sure we're, like, on the right path.
Precisely. The source emphasizes that Saturn returns can be a time of incredible growth and transformation.
Okay.
Even if they're not always easy.
That makes sense.
Right. And that brings us back to our initial question,
Ah, yes.
are we really tuning into the universe
Mm-hmm.
or just creating meaning where there is none?
Right. After this deep dive, I'm starting to think it's a bit of both.
Yeah.
We have to be open to the possibility of messages and signs,
Right.
but also mindful of our own interpretations and biases.
I think you've hit the nail on the head.
Okay.
It's that delicate dance between receptivity and discernment, between trusting our intuition and questioning our assumptions.
So it's not about becoming a mystical expert overnight, but more about cultivating that sense of curiosity, awareness, and being open to the possibility that the universe is constantly communicating with us in all these different ways.
Exactly. It's about embracing that mystery, allowing ourselves to be guided by those subtle whispers, nudges, and synchronicities that are all around us.
Well, this has been an incredible journey, I have to say. I feel like I have a whole new set of tools, for understanding this language of the universe.
I'm so glad to hear that. And remember, the journey doesn't end here, okay?
Okay.
Keep exploring, keep questioning, keep listening.
Right.
The universe is always speaking. And the more we tune in, the more we discover that incredible wisdom and guidance that's available to us.
That's beautiful.
Right.
And to all you listeners out there, I encourage you to do the same. Start that dream journal. Pay attention to the animals you encounter.
Yes.
Notice the numbers that pop up in your life.
Right.
And most importantly, trust your intuition.
Trust it.
You might be surprised by what the universe is trying to tell you.
Exactly.
Until next time, happy exploring.